Good afternoon. So I'm here to chat a little bit about what can go wrong with your book. And I'm raising this because we have a whole mentorship, which is our Pitch to Published, in which they're really starting to grapple with editing. And editing is a further step down the line in the process. And you are all the different phases and stop mucking about. So I want to just talk about this so you have an awareness of things you can do right and things you can do wrong. So I'm going to dive right in and try and keep it to under 10 minutes. So the first thing, and I'm going to be specific here to nonfiction memoir because there are no novelists at the moment apart from Jane Bond. So Jane, we'll talk about you in a different time. I think one of the first things that can go wrong in a memoir is that it's too personal. Now, this sounds like quite a strange thing to say because surely a memoir is personal. And of course it is, but is it too personal? Are you telling every little detail of your life? Are you including things that maybe don't drive your story forward? So you need to think about this because when we first start to write, often we have a whole lot of stories we think are going to tell our story and we put them in. Now, that's the right thing to do when you're driving forward to a first draft. However, later down in the process of writing and getting more disciplined about what's in and what's out, is you start to think about, why is this particular event in my book? And is it driving forward the plot? Because all memoirs have a plot. So you need to start thinking about that. Maybe that story about the wedding, maybe that story about your father, maybe that time that the dog got run over, maybe it's not for this book. So often we're going to start to really refine and cut down what's in and what's out. The second thing that you need to be aware of, and really this is a lot to do, this list I've got at the moment is I've just been marking my university students who are writing personal narrative essays. And a lot of the list comes from marking 21 of these and just seeing the same problems come through again and again in personal narrative writing. And the biggest one I've written here, it's point number 2, is slow down. Slow down. So very often you're rushing to tell the story and you are summarizing the story. And the art of really drawing a reader in and holding them in the moment is slowing the writing down. And Lee Child, one of my favorite authors, he says this: write the fast stuff slow and the slow stuff fast. So the most important thing here is that you're varying your pace. There must be times in your book where it's fast and you're moving your reader through a lot of things that are happening. You're catching them up decades. You're filling them in with family and events and deaths and births and very quickly. But then you get to the times in which the important things happen. And that is where you really want to mark them. And we mark them in writing by giving them space with words. So those moments, which are the big ones, which should be, I would call this at least 50% of your book, you need to write these expansively. And I would say like a minimum of 1,500 words per scene of these. And these are the moments that you need to make important. And the thing about making things important is, you see, the reader doesn't know what's important. They're just going along for the ride. So as author, it is your responsibility to mark for the reader what is important. And most often we mark it by really first setting it up. You know, we end on a cliffhanger. We really feel the sense that something's about to happen. There's something building. And then when this thing has built, this event, we allow the reader to completely experience it with us. What are these events that become hugely important? You choose them, okay? And they may not be the obvious ones. It can be a moment in time. It can just be that second that in your business, somebody said something to you and you knew they were stealing money or whatever it may be. So let's just assume it's something that's small, is like a comment. What you're going to be doing as author is that whole moment in which you realize, you get it, you see, you understand, you're going to write over 1,500 words, 1,500 words. What if it's something bigger? Like, let's say it's an event, an attack, assault, a car accident. In these instances, it's not just one scene, it's not one chapter, it's 3, all right? So poor Annie, who's writing about the tsunami, I use her as an example a lot, and I use her story as an example because it's particularly dramatic. When we meet Annie in the beginning of the book, and when the tsunami hits, she holds us in that place. She holds us in that water, in that swirling, in that survival, in that struggle, in the breathing, in the fighting, in the struggling, in getting out and trying to get people rallying and climbing to the top of the mountain. She holds us in there for chapters and chapters, and that's not the only thing that's big in that book. So in your book, you need to hold people in these moments. You must need to indicate to readers this is a big deal, because readers don't know otherwise. My third point I'm going to make about what can go wrong in memoir is sometimes it's not personal enough. So my first point was it's too personal. And the other one is it's not personal enough. So it's remarkable how many times I get a manuscript or a story about something hell of a personal, an addiction memoir, a sex addiction memoir, a disease memoir, a recovery, a survival memoir, and the writer hasn't really dived deep. They've told the story. We understand like kind of what happened, but we haven't really lain in the gutter with them. We haven't lain on the floor with them in the throes of an addiction, feeling the tremors run through your body, feeling that desire, feeling that desperation, the regret. So that is what we want in a book. That's what we want in a memoir. We want to feel it, and we don't want to have to live it. So it's hard, and your job is to take the reader deep into the nitty gritty, darkest, deepest places. And that requires a lot of you. It requires a lot of you to go in there. And that pertains to my earlier point about slowing down. Slowing down is going there. All right. So slow down and go there. Go there on the floor. Go there in the addiction. Go there in the emotions. Go there all the way. And hello, Jane. Hello, Annie. And the last point I'm going to make, and all of you can watch this later, is one other thing that I've just noticed that sometimes we fail to do as writers is we failed to build the scene. And by building the scene, it means you have to ease a reader into rising action. So a scene has 3 places. Annie, I've just been talking about your book, and you're going to kill me, but you can push rewind and watch it again, because you know I love to use you as an example. So often what we do is we fail to establish the status quo first. When you go into a scene, there's a series of what's happening, what goes wrong, and what makes it even worse. So we really do want to meet you in the car on the way to the office before that moment where you walk through the door and realize you've just lost your job. We want to be with you in the car before. We want to understand that this is a big day for you. You think you're landing the biggest account. You're feeling fantastic. You've done so well at this job. You're banking. You've like bonded yourself up to the eyeballs. You need the salary so badly. So when you get the news in the office on that day, in that moment that you're out, and worse, God knows when worse happens, we really feel it with you. So build scenes slowly. Slow everything down. Write the slow stuff fast. What's my other point here? Don't be too personal. And my last one I want to ask you to do when you're writing memoir is to see if you can elevate it beyond you. And I come back to this again and again. So marking these 21 essays from UCT, it's like a lot of the time I had to write like, well, what's in it for me as a reader? So yes, I want to experience your parachute jump and the thrill and the terror and the excitement. And yes, I want to understand that you lived in a small town in Pennsylvania with the Amish. Like, it's really interesting. But what does it touch in me? Because those stories aren't just about that. They're about loneliness, or they're about overcoming fears. So it's when you can reach into that space and when you can find those things that make your story bigger than you, that's when you elevate your book from a me to a you. And this is hard stuff. And this really is more advanced stuff. And as I said up front, this is really stuff you kind of end up doing your edit, which is what our other group is doing at the moment. It is the shift. It's the shift from writing first draft, which is all about me. I'm pouring myself on the page. I'm pouring my heart. I'm pouring my story. And something happens in the rereading and in the editing in which you have to turn around and you have to go, what's in this for the reader? Is this engaging? Is my plot moving forward? Am I delivering enough information so they actually know what the heck's going on here? Because I know a lot more information than them, and maybe I haven't really made this logical. And are they getting something out of it? Are they learning something from me, even if it's in the negative realm? Are they learning something from me, or am I sharing something that they can relate to? So, beautiful writers, keep going. I said I'll keep this short, under 10 minutes, which I haven't done. And see you online. Ciao.